Back here with Next Level Athletics. Today's video, I'm going to go over on how to increase power with younger athletes. The biggest thing that I see when it comes to, say, your younger athletes, your high school athletes, is that a lot of these strength coaches, high school coaches, focus on just strength. Now, I want to focus. Now, don't get me wrong, strength is a must need to develop that base of strength. Now, if I can give and add power, more explosiveness to that athlete, they'd be much better. And there's many ways of doing that. Like, one thing I've seen, because I've been involved on the high school level coaching for 5 years, but that's one thing that they did only focus on. All about was numbers. How big is your bench? How big is your squat? How big is your deadlift? And they will think that's going to lead them to a better athletic and better athlete. Now, what it really comes down to is if you can produce force. That's the biggest thing with sports. The more force you can produce, the more explosive you are. Now, don't get me wrong, strength can get you to a certain degree, but if you can be more powerful, but if I can add power to that strength, you can be such a better athlete. Now, the ways I do that is through I have a couple ways of doing that. One is plyometrics, obviously. That's going to translate to more explosiveness and speed as well. But if I can give that same kind of movement, like say a squat or a bench, anything, and be able to develop power in that same kind of movement plane, I can make it so much better. And how I do that is through a progression called Trifecta Training. And basically the way what that it boils down to is a block of eccentric, where you come down slow, and then you're exploding back up. And then isometric, where you come down, you're gonna pause, and then explode back up. And then the final phase is obviously concentric, all out power, as fast, moving the bar as fast as you can possibly move as well. And I'm gonna go through that. So what is a progression when we talking about Trifecta training? Well, first what we're trying to do is teach the athlete how to absorb the weight and then be able to produce that force. And the first way of doing that is with no bands, just a regular bar. So your percent. So what I do a 3-week weight. I go 5 sets 4, 5 sets 3, 5 sets 2. So what we start off at is at 60%, 65, and 70. And then so 5 sets 4 will come down for 4-second eccentric, 5 sets 3, and then obviously 2 with a 2-second descent, and then exploding back up. So, and then we do the same thing for isometric, where we come down and pause, and then concentric is all out power, same rep scheme, higher a little bit, so we go from 70, 75, 80 of your 1 rep max. And then we can even add something called accommodating resistance, which I'll go over to in just a minute. But first, let me show you how the eccentric and isometric would look. When it comes to eccentric, so what that would look like, I'm going to show you a video of an actual athlete doing besides myself. So it's a 4-second descent. We'll do a 4-second descent on here. So I'm coming up here, get my bar set up. I'm going to do a step, and I'm going 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming back up, exploding back up. 4, 3, 2, 1. And back up. Now, when it comes to producing force, it's all about your intent. That also goes with plyometrics, and it's really special with here. So I'm trying to come down, teach these athletes how to absorb, and then produce that force. And then what we'll do isometric. So let me go over how that would look like. So I'm coming down, same thing, step, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, there. Now I'm teaching the athlete how to come down to a stop and be able to transfer that force in isometric plane. So when it comes to power, it's all about intent, right? You try and be explosive as you possibly can, and this is going to work the stress shortening muscle or cycle to help you be able to explode as well. About how do we progress it from Okay, so now we've gone through the whole progression of triphasic change without adding accommodating resistance. Now let's talk accommodating resistance. This is the next block. So the next phase of progression would be adding bands to it. Now we add bands, so now we drop the percentage by a lot. So bench, squat, and deadlift will go down to 50. We'll go down to 40% during this phase, during the triphasic, during eccentric and isometric, and then concentric will go up to 50, 55, 60. So eccentric, isometric is 40, 45, 50% with the same kind of tempo as well. So what is one thing that's really great about accommodating your resistance is it allows you, when you come down, say you come down in eccentric, and then you explode up, right? So when you explode up, you are accelerating through the whole entire range of motion. When you're doing, say you're doing heavy, right? When you're doing like a heavy squat and whatnot, when you're doing the strength phase of a movement, you have to decelerate. So when you come up, you have to decelerate to accelerate through the range of motion. Here, when you're doing accommodating resistance, it's allowing you to accelerate through the whole entire range of motion, but also it's putting more tension and more weight on the bar. So how would that? We're going to do an eccentric 4-second descent with bands. This isn't quite my 40%. I really don't know, but we'll see how it goes. So you're here, set up, just like, see, right there, it's trying to take me everywhere. And this will help me with technique. I'm going 4, 3, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1. See there, it's allowing me to come down, absorb the weight, and explode through the whole entire range of motion, and adding tension as I go up, allowing me to produce power. And I can do this also through isometric as well. Great tool to use. So if you're a younger athlete, I would definitely add this into your training. If you're a high school coach, definitely add it into it. So when we go through our triphasic training through no bands, then what's the next direction of this will be an all-out concentric phase, right? So we will then now we learned how to produce, we've learned how to transfer, and now we learned how to absorb, transfer. Now we're learning how to produce the force. So the next block I would definitely do after we do that triphasic through no bands and then with bands is to go with bands with a concentric portion through all 3 phases. So you go 50, 55, 60%, 5 by 3, 5 by 4, 5 by 3, 5 by 2. At those percentages is how I would program it. If you're a young athlete that's looking to add this kind of stuff into your training, I would strongly encourage you to check out my custom coaching program as well. And also if you're a high school coach that wants to develop some kind of program for your athletes to help get them more explosive, more power, because that's one thing I see on the high school level is a lot of coaches don't do is teach your athletes how to produce force. If you can produce force, you can become a much better athlete. Yes, strength's great. Strength will lead to a certain amount of force eventually, but if you can add training how to produce that force, your younger athletes will be able to start doing that at a younger. So your freshmen, sophomores will start learning how to produce force. So when they come on to the varsity level, they're absolute monsters. Is my opinion on this. So that being said, if you're interested into a program, just check out my custom coaching program or shoot me a DM and we might be able to set something up with you. Make sure to hit that, smash that like button and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the support. I'll catch y'all next time. Holla.